Welcome to the Caravan Show, where we discuss all things caravans. That's right, everything you need to know about caravans, from weight, towing, maintenance, appliances, renovations, buying a caravan, repairs, destinations and reviews. We'll also chat with some Aussie legends, manufacturers, suppliers and of course, people who love caravans. Take it away, Roy.
G'day everybody, it's Roy West here from the podcast Caravan Show, and I am very pleased to tell you that I have right now on the other end of the telephone the Mayor of Shellharbour, Mayor Marianne Saliba. Have I got the name right? Please tell me I have, Marianne.
You have got the name right, Roy.
Good on you. Took a bit of practice, but yeah. So, Marianne, how long have you been the mayor?
I've been the Mayor of Shellharbour for 8 years. I was elected in 2011 and was the Deputy Mayor for 1 year and then have been the Mayor for the last 8 years.
Well, you've got to be popular in doing something right if they keep asking you to come back, haven't you?
Well, I hope so. Otherwise, I don't want to be doing it.
Marianne, how long have you lived in there? Are you a local?
I am. I've lived here almost all of my life. My family were, £10 fares from Britain in the early 60s, and we stayed in a hostel for a short time and then moved out to Shellharbour City, where I've basically lived 2 streets from where I grew up.
Yeah, that was a long time ago, and a 6-week journey or something, wasn't it, by boat?
Well, we flew, so we were really fortunate.
Oh.
We were a large family. You can imagine my parents doing 6 weeks on a boat with 6 children. That would have been quite uncomfortable.
Yes, it was a popular thing to get the Brits out to Australia back in those days. Marianne, your area covers around 400 and something square kilometres.
Yes, it does. We're actually a pretty small city in the scheme of things. We sit between Wollongong and Kiama, and most people who travel up and down the south coast would have to come through Shellharbour, probably not even knowing that they're passing through it.
So, of course, Shellharbour is in New South Wales, which I neglected to mention, with a fairly significant population, though. I mean, you say it's not a massive area, but you've actually got a lot of people that you're responsible for.
Yeah, we've got 72,000 is our population at the moment and growing. We expect that by 2035 will be the size of Coffs Harbour.
Wow. And yet, given all that, you're still a hop, skip and jump of around about how long out of Sydney?
We're an hour and a half south of Sydney by car.
Okay, so all right, so yeah, literally you are just, not even a day's drive. You're just down the road for the Sydney-siders. So for the Sydney-siders or any of the folk in New South Wales that want to travel to Shellharbour, you cater well for our caravan owners, don't you?
Well, we've got a caravan park that belongs to council, and there are other caravan parks within our city that are privately owned. There's 5 van parks around the area, and we certainly we've got a lot for people to see in Shellharbour that's worthwhile for anyone that's looking to travel.
And of course, a caravan is well catered for because, Marianne, I believe you're a caravanner yourself.
I'm a happy camper, absolutely, or a grey nomad, as we are known. I have a coaster bus, and there's nothing gives me more pleasure than to jump in that bus with my 2 dogs and my husband and just disappear for days on end.
Well, you mentioned dogs there, which is an important thing. Of those caravan parks, how many are pet friendly?
So our council caravan park is pet friendly. I think maybe not during school holidays, but I'm not sure about the other van parks, although I know that one of them has got dogs at it. So look, I guess it's always about striking up a balance. Many people these days travel with their pets, whether it be dogs or cats, or even birds and other pets. And I think that van parks have got to be got to keep up with the times and provide for the needs of people.
Yeah, and also I heard a whisper that the council's actually helped a little bit during COVID-19 with some of the park issues, or can you just tell us what that's about?
Yeah, the Shellharbour Beachside Holiday Park, which is our own van park, right on the point in Shellharbour itself, overlooking the ocean. Um, what we've done is, because they're people that have permanent sites down there, we're offering a rebate of a month for those people who haven't been able to access their vans during COVID. It's a shame, because most people haven't been able, none of us have been able to go anywhere because of social isolation and all those sorts of things. And I think that we have been looking at how can we ease the financial pressures on both our residents and also those that visit our city on a regular basis.
I know Shellharbour is a beautiful place in the world, and we'll talk a little bit on that shortly. But I must say I'm impressed to see that the council there is doing something specifically to help that. And I believe you're also trying to get some free campsites happening and some other things happening in your region as well, aren't you?
That's right. Because of my own experience of travelling, not only in New South Wales but Victoria, Queensland, I know that there's nothing better than being able to look up one of the apps and find a free camp. It's funny, we spend a lot of money to buy a rig so that we can then free camp. It's a bit of a conundrum there when you think about it. A lot of money spent on your rig so that you've got the opportunity to free camp. But those of us who like to free camp really enjoy doing that. And what I've asked council, I put up a mayoral minute about a year ago, and since that time the officers have been investigating. There's a couple of football fields, there's a showground, to have a look at the planning arrangements for that so that they will allow for free camping in the future. I want to see that happen in Shellharbour City. I want people to come down here and visit our area, have the opportunity to stay free in our local community, and get to see who we are as a community and what we have to offer.
Tell us a little bit about your local economy. So you have produce there, manufacturing there. What sort of other infrastructures do you have?
So we don't actually have a lot of manufacturing within Shellharbour City itself. Most of the employment opportunities are small businesses, retail. We've got a large shopping centre. Also in the hospitality industry, we've got we're building a marina down at Shell Cove at the moment, 270 berth marina. That we believe is going to attract a lot of people to our region. And at that marina there is a large hotel, a tavern, a whole lot of eateries that will sit out over the water's edge. And so really it's about hospitality, retail, entertainment. We have a lot of our employees here in the city area are also working in community services, aged care, disability care, and those sorts of things.
So the tourist dollar must be fairly important to you there.
The tourist dollar is very important. We want people to come to our city. We want them to enjoy our city, and we'd like them to spend their money while they're in our city.
Absolutely. So have you been affected by, all the problems we've had with, what did we have? Droughts, and then we had fire, and now, of course, we've had the COVID-19. How heavily affected has Shellharbour been by all those things?
I guess COVID has been the biggest event that's affected our community financially. We were affected slightly by the droughts. We have some agricultural lands, and we were affected a little by the drought. We were fortunate that the fires were around us but missed us. But COVID-19 has had a huge impact on people's livelihood. And their social life. And of course, a lot of the hospitality areas are the ones that have been most affected. Hotels, restaurants, cafes, all those sorts of things have been quite significantly affected by the COVID. So, council has looked at ways that we can assist our community. And of course, we're also looking at how we can promote our local government area to encourage people who are now able to travel to come and visit us.
Yeah, and this is a point we keep harping on this show, and I'll continue to harp on this about travelling into and looking around and finding out what's on our own doorstep, because the reality is that people, even people in Shellharbour itself, there are people there today that actually haven't been out and explored their own back garden. They haven't gone and done some of the things you're going to tell us about shortly. So, from Sydney, it's easy anywhere around that New South Wales region, really. They can come and do things now, and it's going to open up even more in the not too distant future. So they don't actually need to wait for all the borders to open up, and, they don't really need to travel up here to Queensland or go over the west or whatever. They can actually start doing their bit to support our local communities by travelling locally and seeing what's on our doorstep. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Look, we've got a great visitor centre down in the village of Shellharbour that have a lot of information available, also websites and things like that. But they're calling it staycations. So rather than a vacation, have a staycation. Come and stay locally, get to know your local areas. As you say, branch out a little. Sydney to Shellharbour is, you could do it in a day trip or a weekend or a couple of days, and you would be quite surprised what's available in these local regions. I think it's a great opportunity for people to start exploring their own backyards.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. What we do when we go checking around local regions, we tend to stay there for a day, maybe two. But the reality is, you still don't see a fraction of what's on offer. You can keep going back to the same area and finding more things to do. Or you'll go to an area, you'll find something you particularly enjoy, and then you'll go back to do that again. But you're still missing out on seeing all the other things. So we're going to have a quick chat about some of these other things, and you're going to tell us a little bit about your area. So first off, tell us all about fishing.
Tell you all about what? Sorry, Roy? Fishing?
About the fishing, yeah. There's fishing in your area, isn't there?
Fishing's magic. You've got Wingdang Bridge. You've got the Lake Illawarra, and also the rocks over the water, Wingdang Island. Lots of fish around our area. In fact, not just the little fish, but we've also got pods of whales that are travelling at the moment. And when they make this migration journey each year, we get them going north and then going south again. And it's fantastic to watch. But great opportunity here to fish if you're a fisher person. We've got a lot of opportunities. Prawning is another thing that was quite popular in the Lake Illawarra, and yeah, it's a good experience to be able to drop a line.
Do you have charter boats?
From Wollongong, you'll get charter boats, and when our new marina is completed, there will be charter boats from Shell Cove.
Which makes sense. And of course, it's not just fishing from a boat or from the land. You've also got scuba diving and quite an experience with the scuba diving side, haven't you?
Oh, look, down to Bass Point, it's a marine, protected marine area, and grey nurse sharks, a whole range of beautiful sea creatures that you can go out and see. Scuba diving, it's a great experience, and that operates right out of Shellharbour Village.
So tell us a little bit about your next big attraction, which of course is the national park.
So just before we leave the water, if I might, Roy, we also have stand-up paddle boating in Lake Illawarra, which is anyone who wants to learn how to paddle boat, that's a fantastic experience at the lake. And of course, as you say, our national park, we have beautiful natural waterfalls in Moreton National Park. You just park at the bottom of the pass and you walk up to the waterfalls. It's a stunning walk, and it's a beautiful place to swim. And a lot of tourists come down and visit our national parks. We're very fortunate to be blessed with, mountains and the sea, all in the one area.
And you've got light rail.
We certainly have. We've got the Illawarra Light Rail Museum that's operating at Albion Park, and each month they open up and run their trains around the right light rail link. It's a terrific place. Families come and enjoy themselves. You can bring a picnic and sit and have a picnic in the park, but really great to connect with these old trains that are that are operating there, and the people that run it are all volunteers, and they all love the railway and the history of it. So, and it's right next door, can I say, to our airport, where the Historical Aircraft Restoration Society operates, which is HARS.
I was going to ask you about Connie.
It's a fantastic facility. I don't know if you people across the world watched the 747 land at HARS a couple of years ago. This was the Canberra, which belonged to Qantas. It was the aeroplane that made the longest single journey. Its shortest journey was from Sydney to Albion Park to the Shellharbour Airport. I think it took all of about 7 minutes. And of course, it'll never be able to take off from there again because the runway's too small. But it was a real manoeuvre to get that plane. If you come down to HARS, you can do a wing walk out on the 747. You can have a look through it. And the other thing, of course, that we recently took ownership of at HARS is the 707 that belonged to John Travolta. And we have John Travolta's. We had John Travolta come in to give his plane to the airport, to the HARS, and that will be arriving hopefully early next year. We had hoped for it to be here already, but it hasn't come in yet. But John Travolta has handed it over to HARS because he knows that his plane is going to be very well looked after and restored, because that's what these guys do best.
I have a confession there, Marianne. I actually saw a photograph with you and John Travolta. Not knowing the story, I actually thought the photograph was you and your partner. And I said, wow, her partner looks just like John Travolta. So I ended up with a bit of
John Travolta.
Yeah, and it was John Travolta. Bit of egg on my face on that one, let me tell you.
Yeah, look, it was really great to meet John Travolta. He was a lovely fellow, and the fact that he loves his planes, and he wanted to ensure that the 707 was looked after, and by giving it to HARS, HARS will maintain it, they will upgrade it, and of course people will come from far and wide to have a look through that plane. So they've got a lot of history in that facility, and the museum's open 7 days a week. They've got a cafe there as well. You can come in, you can have a walk right through the museum, and there are so many old war aircraft and home-built aircraft. There's a whole range of aircraft that are there. One of my favourites is the Connie, the Super Constellation, and she's a beautiful old girl.
Yeah, that's a Lockheed, isn't it?
Oh, it is, and it had gone from being a passenger service to a service plane for airmen, and then this one is now being put out to pasture. But our guys went over, picked it up, fixed it up, brought it back, and she now stays at Albion Park Airport, at the Shellharbour Airport, permanently. But they take her up in the air quite often. She's noisy, but a beautiful plane.
While we're talking about in the air, the other thing, of course, you've got there is skydiving. And for those that have never tried to skydive, and I've actually jumped out of a plane. It's something you've really got to experience. It is just absolutely magnificent.
You're a better man than me, because I will never jump out of a plane. However, the skydive to beach is it is a really good experience. Some of my children have taken the skydive to beach, and it's really one of those experiences that if you feel the desire to do, is really worth it. You get it on video. It's a fantastic experience. Although the previous mayor, or one of the previous Lord Mayors of Wollongong, jumped out of a plane one day. It was his 40th birthday, and he landed the wrong way and broke his ankle. So he put me off the idea, but it's an absolutely magic experience to be dropping out of the sky over Wollongong Beach and to be seeing the most beautiful coastline that you could see anywhere in Australia.
I mean, you can break an ankle on
in Bracken,
crossing the
walking
road
down the street.
But
I have.
it is and I can tell you from firsthand, it is the most special experience. It is, I would recommend anyone that can give it a try, get out there and have a go at skydiving.
There's also, sorry, Roy, they're also out there at the airport. There is the biplanes, and that is also another experience that is really southern biplanes. I bought that for my husband for his 60th birthday, and he went, and in this double-winged aeroplane that's doing acrobatics in the air. I was screaming on the beach watching it. I wasn't even in the plane. I was very excited about the whole thing. So there's many opportunities. Also, touchdown helicopters out there at the airport as well.
When we were talking about water before, I didn't mention. In fact, you've got kayak tours as well. So there's other things that you can do there, and even on the water, you have a surfing academy.
We certainly do. Look, we're very fortunate, as I say, in Shellharbour to have, I guess, so many opportunities with the water right at our doorstep, and it probably is underutilised, but it's an opportunity for people who haven't had the experience to come. We have a beach down at Killalea that is a national, recognised as a national surfing area of protection, and it's just absolutely beautiful. Lots of opportunities for people to learn how to surf and to go out and experience surfing on the south coast.
And of course, you're not limited to having to be that energetic. You have bowling there as well.
Absolutely. We've got 2 temporary bowling alleys in our city, one in Wirrilla and one in Albion Park Rail. And of course, what it means is it doesn't matter whether it's whether it's sunny and warm or cold and wet, there's always activities. Also, if you like a bit of trampolining, there's flip out, which is a great opportunity for people to have a bounce around. And right beside that, of course, is also the C1 speed racing, the cars, the little motor cars that you could go around the racing track on as well.
Oh, wow. And lest we forget, we've also got the Roo Theatre, and of course you've got the Greater Union there. So, if the day's not that brilliant, there's also plenty to do, not just with the cinemas, and I'll get you to tell me about the Roo Theatre in a moment, but of course you've got lots of clubs, pubs, live bands, all sorts of other entertainments for an evening as well, haven't you?
That's right, and lots of really good restaurants and eateries in Shellharbour City with a whole range of, cuisine. So, you could have anything from Chinese, Korean, Thai. We're just very, as I say, fortunate that we are a really diverse area. But the theatre, the Roo Theatre is an amateur theatre group, and they run some great shows throughout the year, and that's one thing I try never to miss if I can get to that.
And of course, you also have an abundance of festivals, and you have markets. So there's all those. So tell us about your festivals and your markets. Do you have a festival calendar? We
do. In fact, it'll be going up to council in the next at the next meeting, hopefully. Of course, our events calendar has been affected by COVID, and this is the sad reality for most communities. We would have just had an event called Live and Local, where Shellharbour Village would have had. I think last year we had about 57 acts that played up and down restaurants and venues in the village, and it was from 8 o'clock in the morning through till late in the evening. It finished at the hotel, at the Ocean Beach Hotel, with bands in the evening, but all different types of entertainment people, musicians and singers and choirs, and it was just spectacular. Unfortunately, this year we weren't able to hold the Live and Local, but we're going to do a thing called Enliven instead, and that's going to go over a period of 3 months throughout the city, and there will be different venues that will have different artists. Some of it might be, in actual fact, visual arts, and others will be music and other things like that across the city, so that we can still celebrate, but in smaller venues with the smaller crowds.
So while we're on that subject of arts, do you have a local arts and craft scheme going, or shows going, or markets going for the arts and crafts?
So what we have is we have the Shellharbour, we have an exhibition space in Shellharbour in the village that we, I guess, allow artists to use and to put their work on display. We would run, throughout the year there might be different art exhibitions, different types of art. We also have some events like we have a skate and surf festival for younger people at the end of the year, and we finished off last year with the Hidden Forest Music Festival at the end of that 2-week period. So there's a whole things like the traditional carols by candlelight, Australia Day. We do a mean breakfast by the beach down at the Lake Illawarra on Australia Day. So we have some events that are more traditional, and then we have some really great, like we're involved in the Small Halls event, and we would normally get international artists, a national artist and a local artist that will perform at our Small Halls event, and that's usually around about February or March each year. So we're hoping to continue with the events that we have had in the past, but also looking to be, I guess, a little bit creative about continuing to run events, even though we can't have the large gatherings. So how can we make these work by spreading them throughout the city and encouraging people to go to different events, that the things that might attract them.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this COVID-19 thing will end in terms of what we can do on a local level. But, when it comes to travelling internationally, well, I'm actually hoping that people will start to look back at this backyard thing before they start travelling overseas. One of the things we're noticing, you mentioned grey nomads before, and of course grey nomads have been a massive influx into regional Australia in recent years, but we're seeing a lot of young folk bringing their children and homeschooling and this sort of stuff, and they're looking for places where they can not only travel and see and educate their children, but also, of course, entertain their children. Shellharbour's sounding to me like a fantastic place to go as a family group, because there's so many family activities that you can do there.
There's no doubt you coming to Shellharbour would please everybody. There would be activities for everyone. In fact, the Links Golf Course, which is a golf course that's owned by council, we're just in the process of finishing off a mini golf course for children there as well. So that work is continuing as we speak, and hopefully, by the time we get into summer, that will be available for families. So there's a whole range of activities that our libraries, during all school holidays, our libraries run children's events and activities. And for one in particular that sticks in my mind was they did one of these lock-in rooms, and it was a Harry Potter, and you had to read the clues and look at all the different things to find your way out of the room. And families came from all over New South Wales to participate in that lockout. It was quite interesting.
Not surprised. I'm listening to it and I'm thinking, Marianne, I've had a lot of passionate people on the show, people that are passionate about their regions and so forth, but none more so than yourself. So it's really pleasing to talk to people so passionate about their own backyards and their own areas as well as you do, particularly in your position, because you are in a position where you can help make these things happen. So the other thing that Shellharbour's quite well known for, of course, is your boutique shopping. So tell us about your boutique stores.
we've got some great stores in Shellharbour, and it's right across the city. Retail is something that we all love to participate in. You know, not just you're not just talking about you know, we've got women's clothing, and we've got giftware, and you come to Stocklands, and Stocklands is our major shopping centre, and it is huge. Like, people will come from the south coast, the Highlands, and north to shop at Stockland Shellharbour, because it's got such a variety of stores within that shopping centre. You could get lost. You could get in there and be there for the whole day and not have visited everything that's on offer. And it really is a great place to visit.
And of course, as a complete diversity of that, one of my favourite things to do is visit caves, and I believe that you can even cater for that out at Cathedral Rocks, is it?
So sorry, what was that, Roy? I missed your question at the start.
The caves.
Oh, look, it's amazing. It's amazing the things that are available. I mean, we're only a short trip to Minamurra, to the Minamurra Falls. You've got on the north side, you've got the Grand Pacific Drive, which is used in a lot of TV advertisements, particularly for cars. So right here, we sit in the middle of this region, and there are so many opportunities, whether you want something natural, like the caves, or being up in the waterfalls, or in the escarpment, the beach, or if you're wanting man-made activities. There are so many opportunities in Shellharbour City. If I didn't live here, I'd be visiting.
Marianne, I'm just again, I love doing U-turns, so I'm going to take us back to your history. You know, all these areas have good history with unique aspects. Can you tell us a bit about the history of Shellharbour itself?
Shellharbour was gazetted as a local government area in 1859. It was the third oldest municipality in New South Wales. It was first established because you had cedar getting down here. There was the timber people were down here cutting the timber. In fact, there's an old tree that sits in Shellharbour Village, this beautiful old fig that was used that long ago. They used to hang a red lantern in the tree if they had timber or other supplies that they wanted the ships to come into shore to collect. And so that tree still sits in the village, and it's absolutely beautiful. But that history, people came down here, started working timber. Then we had dairy farms, and so the whole area started to develop. However, we became a city in 1996. So we're the third oldest municipality, and we're the youngest city in New South Wales. And we have got a very rich history in between of how we've developed.
You mentioned dairy there. So do you have local produce?
So we have we still got some dairy farms that are operating. Although most of the farmers will sell their wares to the major operators. However, we do have, if you go down to Kiama on a Wednesday afternoon, you can purchase at their markets there all local grown produce and locally made things. So you'd get cheeses, and you'd get locally grown, like whether it be goat's milk, soaps, and a whole range of products that are made locally and from local natural, like even organic farming, those sorts of things. You can go and purchase all those sorts of things from our markets.
Do you have an Indigenous population locally?
We do. I think our Indigenous population, is probably about I think it's about 2.5% of the greater population, and we as a council work really well with our local people. So they run some tours, they run some programs for what do you call it? being out and planting trees and looking after the natural
land management stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, they do
Yep.
all those sorts of things with the young people. We also have some historical, like the birthing tree that's down at Killalea. That is a really significant tree to Aboriginal people of our local community because it was a place where women went to have their babies. It has been moved to Killalea so that it was given a significant site because where it was in an old mining area, and then they moved it up to Killalea. But our Aboriginal population are great, really great people. We have some great artists, musicians, dancers. When we start our Australia Day ceremony, we have a smoking ceremony. We have our local Aboriginal dancing group. So it's a really great cultural day.
Is there a particular time of the year that's best to visit Shellharbour?
Usually, but of course the problem is at the moment is the COVID, and we're just starting to come back into running events and what they're looking like and how they're going to, as I guess the state government and the federal government remove and reduce those restrictions, we're able to get a better picture of what our events are going to look like for the rest of the year.
So I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, as I do with everyone. So you've told us a lot. I mean, you're a fountain of information. But now I'm going to ask you to share with our listeners something special that they're not really going to find in the brochures or on the Google apps or whatever. Something a little bit special, a place to go or something to do that's kind of a local secret.
So my favourite is, and I've made mention of it already, is the giant fig tree that sits up an Eastern Avenue in Shellharbour Village. It takes over 2 blocks of land, and this tree completely covers it. And when I visit that tree, I almost feel like I'm in the presence of a dinosaur, if you know what I mean. It's like it's so peaceful being under this tree, and it's so old. I just love to visit that place. It gives me a lot of peace, and it's so beautiful. And there's information on a plaque there that tells you about the tree and the history of the tree to that community. It's just a place that I love to go.
Come on, you got to share another one with us now. You're doing well.
Okay, something else. I love going down to the rock pools at Shellharbour itself. So we have a saltwater pool down there, and then if you are walking south of that, there's some great, or between the rock pools and the little harbour in Shellharbour, there's some great rock pools where I like taking the children and the grandchildren down there because they're always discovering new things, and able to watch the crabs and the little fish in the little ponds and stuff. And that's a really nice experience to watch the children learn something new. I thoroughly enjoy that.
So it sounds like the place to go, Shellharbour, only an hour or so out of Sydney, down on the New South Wales coastline. You've got things away from the ocean and you've got things happening at the ocean. There's abundance of things to do. If they want to go, where will they find the visitor centre?
So you can actually, you'll find them online. They have a website, Shellharbour Visitor Centre, and also it's in the village in Shellharbour where you can go in and get assistance from the staff down there. They're able to book for anyone that wants, accommodation. They're able to give advice to people for anywhere that they're looking to book into, whether it be the van parks. And the other thing I would add, we've got some great car parks all along the waterfront, along the lake, for those people that are just a bit tired of travelling and want to pull up for a few hours. And I travel that road every single day, and I watch the number of vans and buses and stuff like that pull in there and then just enjoy, being by the water's edge.
And of course, you've got magnificent sunsets, don't you?
We do. Sunrises and sunsets, because the sunset's over the mountains and it's just spectacular.
Rises over
every
the
day.
water.
Every day's different.
Yeah. Well, Marianne, you've been fantastic to take up this time. I know you're a busy lady. I know you've got a lot there, and to take out this lump of time to talk to our listeners is absolutely fantastic. So on behalf of my listeners, I'd like to thank you for doing that. And I guess we'll catch you again on the flip side, hopefully.
Absolutely, Roy, and I look forward to seeing people passing through Shellharbour. They can always pop in and say hello to me. I love my local area, and I'm very proud of it. And I love to travel, so I look forward to seeing people on the road.
Good on you. Thanks, Marianne.
Thanks, Roy.